Hello students, welcome to InstaOwl's science class. We believe in democratizing education for all. Students, did you ever think about how our body gets energy from the food we eat? The answer lies in a life process called respiration. It's the process through which cells break down glucose to release energy. This energy is then used to power every function in the body, from thinking and walking to healing and growing. Let's first understand this through an activity. When you blow air into lime water, it turns milky. This happens because our breath contains carbon dioxide and CO2 reacts with lime water to form a white precipitate. Now, compare this with plain air from a syringe. It takes longer for lime water to turn milky. That's because the amount of carbon dioxide in exhaled air is much higher than in fresh air. This proves that carbon dioxide is produced during respiration. Moving further, let's look at an activity which focuses on fermentation, a form of anaerobic respiration. Here, yeast is added to a sugar solution and sealed with a cork. A tube leading out of the cork dips into lime water. After some time, lime water turns milky. This shows carbon dioxide is released during the breakdown of sugar by yeast, even without oxygen. This is fermentation. Now, to connect it all, respiration can happen with or without oxygen. In both cases, the first step is the breakdown of glucose into a compound called pyruvate. This happens in the cytoplasm of the cell. What happens next depends on the availability of oxygen. In the presence of oxygen, pyruvate is broken down completely into carbon dioxide and water. This occurs in the mitochondria and is called aerobic respiration. It releases a large amount of energy. In the absence of oxygen, like in yeast, pyruvate gets converted into ethanol and carbon dioxide, releasing less energy. This is anaerobic respiration or fermentation. There is also a third case, where oxygen is limited, like in muscle cells during sudden activity. Here, pyruvate is converted into lactic acid, causing cramps due to its buildup. This is also an anaerobic process. The energy released in all these processes is immediately stored in a molecule called ATP, or adenosine triphosphate. It acts like a power bank for the cell. ATP is made by adding a phosphate group to ADP, or adenosine diphosphate. Breaking the phosphate bond releases energy, about 30.5 kJ per mole. This energy fuels essential activities like muscle movement, protein formation, and nerve transmission. Now, since aerobic respiration depends on oxygen, the body must constantly take in fresh air. But how does this exchange happen? In plants, gas exchange takes place through stomata, and gases reach every cell through interconnected air spaces. But in animals, this process is more complex. Let's understand how animals take in oxygen. Let's take a closer look at how fish breathe underwater. Have you ever seen a fish in an aquarium? You'll notice two things happening again and again. The mouth opens and closes, and just behind the eyes, gill slits open and shut too. These gill slits are covered by a flap called the operculum. Fish breathe much faster. That's because oxygen in water is much less than in air. So fish need to pass more water over their gills to absorb enough oxygen. So, what's happening? When the fish opens its mouth, water rushes in. Then it closes its mouth and pushes the water out through the gills. As the water flows over the gills, oxygen dissolved in it is absorbed into blood, and carbon dioxide is released into the water. This shows us that although fish don't have lungs, they have evolved a different but efficient system using gills to extract oxygen from water and survive. Terrestrial animals, on the other hand, take oxygen from the air. But since different animals have different sizes and oxygen needs, their respiratory structures vary. Now, coming to humans, we have a well-developed respiratory system. When we inhale, the chest cavity and ribs expand and air is drawn in. Air passes through the nostrils, then goes to the nasal passage, where it gets filtered by fine hair and mucus, which trap dust and germs. It then moves through the pharynx and larynx into the trachea, which is kept open by rings of cartilage. From the trachea, air enters inside the lungs. The breathing action is supported by the diaphragm and chest muscles. Then it goes to bronchi, then bronchioles, and finally reaches small balloon-like sacs called alveoli. Alveoli are the sites for gas exchange. They are surrounded by capillaries. Oxygen from the air enters the blood here, while carbon dioxide from the blood moves into the alveoli to be exhaled and cavity contracts and air is pushed out. During breathing, some air always stays in the lungs to allow oxygen absorption and carbon dioxide release. In larger animals like humans, diffusion alone isn't enough. Special pigments carry oxygen from lungs to body tissues. In humans, this pigment is hemoglobin found in red blood cells, which binds strongly to oxygen. Carbon dioxide dissolves easily in blood and is mostly transported in dissolved form. Now it's time for InstaBites. Do you know smoking destroys tiny hair-like cilia in your respiratory tract? These cilia protect your lungs from dust, germs, and harmful particles. Without them, the risk of infection, cough, and even lung cancer increases. Do you know the surface area of all the alveoli in your lungs adds up to nearly 80 square meters? That's more than a badminton court, making gas exchange super efficient. And if we didn't have hemoglobin, it would take oxygen molecules 3 years to reach your toes just by diffusion. Here is a quick roundup of what we've covered in InstaLights. First, we learned how energy is produced in cells during respiration and energy release. Then we understood the differences between aerobic and anaerobic forms under types of respiration. Next, we saw how fish use gills to breathe in respiration in fish. And finally, we explored how air travels through our body in the human respiratory system. Keep enjoying InstaOwl's videos. Take care.